Hello, my name is Adam Witt, and today we are going to cover the story of Noah and Moses in Faults in Our God. And we're going to look into, should we be letting God judge us, whether we live, whether we die, you know, judging people, on crimes and stuff and whatnot, and as well as, basically judging, discrimination against when it comes to gay marriage and all that other stuff. And then next time we're going to cover the Ten Commandments. We're going to cover other little rules that God made and stuff like that, and kind of take a second to kind of take a step back and kind of look at every commandment and just kind of say, hey, God's rules aren't actually really law because of the fact there was not any legal steps that were made to make those rules and commandments, because it didn't go through the judicial, legislative, executive branches and stuff like that and whatnot, so nothing ever got approved of. So we're going to get into that fact, as well as we're going to sit there and say, hey, uneducated God making rules, doesn't even have a diploma or degree, what the hell. So we're going to get into that. And then when we're going to hit the conclusion and kind of wrap things up kind of thing, in the final blog, we're going to hit big terms like, is God, politically the right king for us? Is he, financially, emotionally, mentally, is this a good business decision to have God as king? Having someone who's uneducated and stuff. So we're going to finally hatch our way into a new way of looking at God, and we're going to look at a lot of stuff at a different angle and stuff, and it's not just going to be biblically, it's going to be a whole lot of other stuff mixed up into this. So yeah, can't wait to finally get to the ending of Faults in Our God here. So we got like 2 videos to go, so then we can start getting into comments, we can start getting into questions and answers. So yeah, that's going to be a good thing. So let's pick up where we last left off. Last time we talked about the fact that God brought sin into the world. How? Because he made the darn tree that Adam and Eve ate from, and anyone else could have eaten from it, but because Adam and Eve ate from it, we got blamed for it. And it could have been anybody else in that scenario. Like I said, could have been animals, could have been Satan, could have been God, whatever. So, with that being said, let's get on to the next big storyline. Let's hit Noah's Ark and hit that one out of the ballpark. Noah's Ark is basically a story of God basically confessing that even himself, he was a failure. That he was, to be blamed for a lot of the things that happened, and even he saw a fault in the world. Basically what that means, even God says in his own Bible, I'm a failure. I did a lot of messing up here, and now I want to correct it because obviously I made a mistake even bigger than myself. Now how do I deal with this? So what does he do? Calls upon Noah to go gather all these animals, put them on the ark, and then puts himself on the ark and his family. And then we got the big flood. Basically letting an uneducated God make a decision who lives, who dies, and basically didn't give a rat's behind about the fact who lived and who died. So that's one of the points that I want to get at. God was making life and death decisions without having a diploma, a degree. He didn't really know what in depth was going on in the world and stuff like that, and making decisions that he shouldn't have been making. And then I want to get into the next story, which would be the story of Moses trying to get everybody out of Egypt when it came to the slavery thing. Another story of God acting through Moses. Moses decides to take on the challenge, gets everybody out of Egypt, but there was a lot of death and plagues and a lot of bad things that happened in the process. Again, God deciding who lives, who dies, and basically didn't care who got crushed at the end. As long as he got his people out, that was what mattered. Again, God uneducated, making life and death decisions. And that's one of the big things I want to talk about, not only today, but the next blog that I do, is really put God's IQ and what type of education that he does have as of right now, and put it compared to the brilliant geniuses out there as of today, which means that they're the people who are high school graduates, that are college grads, maybe even went to medical school, law school, whatever you want to say you have done. And then let's go and compare God to innocent little children, animals, and all that stuff, and you're going to find a conclusion that, well, let's just say we'll make you make the decision on that. So, we have all these big, huge, smart people in this world, college grads, high school graduates, and it's kind of a little unfair that we got a person who doesn't have that type of potential, that has not went to school, and yet he's going to be judging us as far as life and death decisions are concerned, wanting to diss gay marriage and all that stuff, and saying it's abomination and stuff, kind of having all this say and whatnot, and yet he has not done anything to prove that he's actually the smartest thing on the face of the earth, as far as, hey, I got a diploma and stuff, or degree. Basically all you're hearing in the Bible is, and I quote, he's just all-knowing, but there was no proof that he is all-knowing. It's just kind of like, oh, I can see the future. Well, whoop-de-doo, there's a lot of psychics out there that can predict the future as well, and probably can do it a lot more better than God. So, point proven, you're not the only person who can see the future. And these college grads and these high school graduates actually can prove to themselves that they are smarter than God, because God is not educated. He does not have a degree or diploma. He has not done 14 years of schooling, plus probably another additional 4, plus maybe another additional 4 if you want to get into law, meds, whatever. So, even with that being said, so now we have all these smart alecks right here, better than God, right now. We already proved that. But now let's look at another aspect. Let's take a look at little kids. Let's take a look at toddlers. Let's take a look at animals. They're on the same wavelength. Not educated, and they're people that have not gone into school, so what says that they're not all-knowing? They're on the same wavelength. Like I said, it's kind of a mystery. Is he smarter than the people on the other side of the spectrum? Well, at least down the line of things, they're going to learn something down the road, whether it is, they'll get some type of schooling and stuff like that, and probably have somewhat of a good discipline, situation. And when it comes to kids, yeah, they're going to go to school, but God ain't. And that's the biggest problem, is we're putting so much faith into an uneducated God, and the problem is there's a lot more smarter people that we could follow, and there's a lot more not as smart, but there might be a few things that they're more better at than God is, though, still. I even look at a lot of things that are like technology that's even smarter than God. I mean, even, I'm going to show it to you right now. This has never went to school once yet in its whole entire life, but the people that made this are, I'm not saying are smarter than God, whatever you want to call it, but this thing in itself is smarter than God, because even though it doesn't have an education, never went through the process in order to get that far, yet it can do things like add, subtract, go online, Google this, figure out how to get there, this, and whatnot, and probably has about more knowledge about things than God does. So what is my point out of all this? Just because something in the world says they're all knowing, or somebody or whatever, doesn't mean a thing if you don't have the degree and the diplomacy to back it up. You're only as smart as the material that's in front of you. So you can't just sit there and say you're all-knowing and that you can predict the future and stuff like that, or you know a few things here and there. You got to be able to prove it. Once you prove yourself into the world that you are in, that you have knowledge and stuff like that, then maybe you can be all-knowing and stuff like that, and maybe your rules and regulations and stuff might be held, whatever, but it doesn't mean a thing if you don't have anything to back it up. So basically what I'm trying to say is you're letting somebody who is uneducated boss you around, decide whether you go to heaven, you go to hell, whether you're going to be poor or you're going to be rich, or deciding about gay marriage and all that stuff. And we're going to get into more of that next time. God is bossing you around, saying, do this, do that, do this, do that. Worship me, give me attention. But at the end of the day, when it comes right down to it, he has not done anything to prove himself worthy of being the true King of Kings, except for the fact that he put Jesus on the cross. And to be completely honest, that was just nothing. We had forgiveness of sins all along, so don't go sit there and put me that guilt trip that he put Jesus on the cross, because that little guilt trip doesn't work with me. So I don't really need to really care about that much. Do I give credit to Jesus when credit is due? He did miracles and healed people. Okay, you did a few good things. A lot of people do a lot of good things. So Jesus, as much as you did a lot of good things on earth, I've seen people been there, done that. So, but I will give you credit when credit is due. You helped out people. That's a good thing. People do it all the time, though. That's the other thing. So, you impressed, but not by that much. And, and you've done miracles, and there's a lot of miracle workers out there in this world, too. So, doctors, surgeons, whatever. So that's the thing. There hasn't been really something that is so significant that's in the Bible that proves to me that God, has potential, Yeah, a few good deeds here and there. But God has done a lot of very bad deeds and stuff. So that's going to be my conclusion on this part of faults in our God. As far as going into the book of Genesis, hitting the Noah's Ark story, hitting Exodus, talking about Moses. And next time we are going to just hit the commandments and just sit there and say, hey, your laws aren't official. You got to go through the process, which you didn't do. So we should not be listening to you. We need to follow the rules and regulations by people who actually do make laws for a living. And what you've done was just basically put stuff on a slab of concrete and then wanted to sit there and say that's law. It's not. You got to go through the step progress. So, whatever. And then we're going to just basically talk at the end, just, look at every angle of things, and we're just going to find out that, God didn't go through the progress of trying to make himself a big shot, so, why are we following him? Why are we fearing him? So, alright, well, that's how I'm going to do this blog. My name's Adam Witt, and hope everyone has a very good day.